Okay, so a quick overview of KenQ analysis and PQMethod. So if you were using PQMethod, the usual flow of analysis, you'd begin with inputting your data. And that's options 1 and 2 here. You would input your statements and then use the program to input your Q-sorts with option 2. After you do that, then you would choose which type of factor analysis you want to do. PQMethod gives you two choices. First choice is a centroid factor analysis. Second choice is a principal components factor analysis. And quite often when people use a centroid factor analysis, they would then rotate the factors using manual rotation. Usually when people choose principal components, then they use a Varimax rotation with that. And after they've finished rotating, then they would do a final few things to complete the analysis. KenQ analysis follows the same general pattern as PQMethod. Let's go through it real quick once with the demo data here. Use libset data. After you choose the data there, then it shows it here on the page, the statements and the participants' Q-sorts. Once those are up, you can get a correlation matrix of the Q-sorts between participants, see how similar their Q-sorts are. And then just as in PQMethod, you've got two options for factor analysis, the centroid option or the principal components option. I'll just choose the centroid option here. And it gives you, first of all, the table of factors, centroid factors. And you can see this is similar to what PQMethod would do. Yeah, it would give you a table here. It's the same table of the extracted centroid factors. In PQMethod, this is the manual rotation part of it, called PQROT rotation. And KenQ analysis also gives you a scree plot to look at, so you can make some judgments about how many factors to keep for your analysis. And Watson-Stenner has a good discussion of that, so check the book there on how to make that choice. So after you do that, you have to choose how many factors you want to keep for rotation. I'm just going to use 7 here real quick. And then if you decide to do a judgmental rotation, you click here and then choose the factors you want to rotate. And then it displays those two factors for you. This in PQMethod is the same chart. Yeah, I've got person 7 and 6, yeah, over here. Same as in PQMethod. And in KenQ analysis, you also have a table of values here, which you can sort if you want to. Yeah, so you could do your rotations if you wanted to and do all that. I'm not going to do the judgmental rotations right now. Instead, I'll just use Varimax. I'll apply a Varimax rotation to it. And so that would give you this table, which then you would want to flag. So in, just undo that real quick. In PQMethod, you have to manually, or you have two options. You can auto flag here with this option F6, and then it flags, indicates the flags with these X's. Same thing in KenQ analysis. You just click here and it auto flags the same two factors. And it only does 2 here because I haven't rotated anything. If I go up and do that Varimax rotation, And now when I auto flag, it gives me much better results. And also in KenQ analysis, you can resort the table and highlight it. And so now it shows for factor 1, what are the highest loading Q sorts. Same thing for factor 2 and factor 3. Makes it a bit easier to decide which Q sorts to flag, right? These will be the flagged Q sorts are the ones that are kept for the final analysis to calculate the composite or idealized Q sorts. Yeah, so once you've done all the flagging, you're happy with the results, then you just go down here to choose which factors you want to keep for the results, and then display those. And here in KenQ analysis, it gives you the idealized or composite Q sort for factor 1, factor 2, and for factor 3. And so you can decide if you like those. If not, you can go back and maybe change some of your decisions, particularly if you're doing the judgmental rotation. Then when you're happy with what you have, you can download all of the results in, say for example, CSV format. And here, KenQ analysis will give you identical results to what you get with PQMethod. Yeah, when you choose this option 7 and then option 8, you get this lipsit file of output results. Yeah, you get the same thing here in KenQ analysis. With the addition at the end, KenQ analysis, if you go all the way to the end, after it gives you the distinguishing and consensus statements, it will give you also some relative rankings. Yeah, these are the crib sheets that are discussed in Watson-Stenner. Yeah, so those are already calculated for you here in KenQ analysis. Everything else is exactly the same as your PQMethod results. Yeah, got the original statements, the original sorts, correlation matrix, unrotated factor matrix, cumulative commonalities, the flag sorts, and then the factor scores for each one. Yeah, so that's it. It's pretty straightforward. As I said, KenQ analysis pretty much follows the same analysis process as PQMethod. Now the hardest thing is bringing in your data. And so here I've got two options for you. An Excel type 1 file and an Excel type 2 file. So what's the difference? Well, the difference depends on which format your data is in. So if you've got, if you click here in KenQ analysis, there's a help file. This help file will come up, and it'll show you how to do this data import. So the big difference, type 1, is for when you have forced or symmetrical data, Q sorts. So for example, if you did your Q sorting with your participants, and if you have a participant here that in this pile that accepts 3 statements, if that participant put 4 statements there, yeah, they didn't follow this Q sort design that you have. If they put 4 statements here and that was okay, then you have unforced sorts. Yeah, And unforced sorts, you need to use type 2 Excel file. But if all of your participants followed the QSort design, that you have, for example, here, if they all followed this pattern, then you can use type 1. And type 1 is a little bit easier because you can use, when you input the data, it follows the pattern that you have recorded on, if you wrote it down on a piece of paper or took a photo of their sort results. It follows that straightforward. So let's do a type 1. A type 1 when you have a symmetric Q sorts from all of your participants. So you click here and you're in the help file, and in the help file there's an option if you click right here to get a sample file from Google Sheets. If you go to Google Sheets right here, click on File, Download as, Microsoft Excel, and that will give you a copy of this sample file, which you can then open. And it's got the place to put your sorts, place to put your statements, and then an example showing you how to do it from Lipset, and then statements from Lipset. So if we go back to the guide here, after you download this, the first thing to do for a type 1 example is to put in the shape or the QSort design. So in this pile we've got 2 statements, so just put, the value is -4 in this particular study. 2 statements, so over here -4 value, put 2 statements. And do that same for your entire sort pattern. And then once you do that, on the left hand side you put in these values, right? This is the -4 column, so put in 2 statements, so put 2 -4s there. -3 column, 3 minus statements, put those there, and so on for your entire study. And then once you've done that, you can begin to add in all of your respondents' QSort data. So respondent 1 in the -4 column had a statement 8 and statement 13, so I put their values here. In the -3 column, they had statement 11, 4, and 7, so I put those in, and so on, through the rest of your respondents, your participants. Then you add in the statements and save that worksheet, and you're ready to upload it to KenQ Analysis. So let's do that one time. So here in the Excel file import, click on type 1, and got a type 1 file here. Open it up, and it just brings it right in. So it's got the statements and the Q sorts. And if those both load up fine, then you're ready to begin. You just click on correlation matrix and off you go. You can also export these to PQMethod if you want. And type 2 is basically the same thing. Let me reload this real quick. You just click there and get a type 2 file, and it loads it in. Once you've got that loaded, you're ready to begin. Okay, so as I said, just click on this help file here in KenQ Analysis, and it'll give you this little tutorial to help you set up your Excel file. Okay, so give that a try.